Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 441st episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today, we have a returning guest, Mr. Jeb Blount, founder of Sales Gravy, prolific author, sales trainer, and we get into his new book, Inked, The Ultimate Guide to Powerful Closing in Sales, Negotiation Tactics that Unlock Yes and Seal the Deal. The reality is we also get into some COVID stuff. I mean, it's all around us right now. And I had quite a few interviews in close order, and I'm pushing out several of these for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of people have a lot more time on their hands, so I want to get it in your hands. So maybe get some ideas that'll help you crack the code on something, stay the course and grow your sales and grow out of this government-induced recession. The other thing is, I'm working on some plans for changing up the format of this. And so I didn't want these podcasts to sit for too long. I don't like them sitting long anyway. In the past, I've sometimes been 2 months ahead or more, and I don't like that. So I'm wanting to get these out and in your hands. So Jeb and we talk a lot about the changes he put into place. Does cold calling still work? Does it have a place right now? What is its role right now today? And he's got an amazing success story I think you'll like hearing. He listened to his little voice and made some changes to his business that he started about a year ago. He started it and had nothing to do, with the global pandemic. He didn't know that was coming, but just business in general. And those changes have had a profound impact for his business and his staff. So, you want to pay attention to this. Jeb's a smart guy, super successful, and totally different business model than me. He's got a big team. He says, I think he said on the interview, we may have talked before or after, but he spent 311 days on the road last year. And I mean, that would be hell for me, right? I leave for a couple of days and I'm like, I'm missing my jiu-jitsu buddies. So, it's, how do you want to grow, right? You got to figure that out. And this recession that's coming upon us because of the virus, you may have to make some changes. You may have to get on a plane or travel more to build things back up. And you know what? It is what it is. As Zig Ziglar would always say, if you got to eat a frog, there ain't no use in looking at it. If you got to eat more than one, eat the biggest one first. So if you're faced with a challenge, just get on with it. Okay, rip the Band-Aid off, look it square in the face, and just do what you got to do. Put it behind you, okay? So we talk about some of that, and I think that, like I said, you'll get something out of it. As I do this intro, had some dinner, made a few calls to some folks in our church, checking in on people. Now I'm unwinding with a little Woodford Reserve. So let me know if you partake in adult beverages from time to time, when you're alone, do you drink the good stuff or do you drink the everyday stuff? I'm torn. Typically when I'm alone, I drink the everyday stuff. I'll have a batch of that sitting around and I have a few different flavors of everyday stuff. And I've got a few different flavors of the good stuff. So what do you do? So right now I'm kind of in the middle. Woodford Reserve is a solid middle for sure. It is not a lower end. So it's firmly in the middle, and I'm enjoying it. So let me know in the comments. Send me an email. Hit me up on the social media, the Facebooky, the Twitter, the Instagram. Let me know what you do. All right, and keep in mind if you need some help, you want to engage, you want to continue the conversation. We've got a free group, theimplementors.com, and the paid group, 30-Day Sales Growth, and use promo code April for half off right now, okay? And month to month or even the whole year, either way, it's still half off, and you save a good bit of money with that, and I'll help you as much as I can, all right? So along those lines, let's bring on Jeb. Oh, and this was another thing with the COVID going on, right? Everybody's working from home, and when you're on cable, that's why I love fiber to the home. Man, I've been spoiled for 15 years at least. Dedicated bandwidth, but Jeb, you'll hear it'll break up a little bit here and there, and that's just the nature of the beast. People working from home or Actually, he's working from the office, but everybody's online doing Zoom and video meetings and remote. So breaks up here and there. So I apologize for that, but the info is still great. All right, so let's bring on Jeb. Jeb Blount with that fancy background all the way from Georgia, brother. Georgia's on my mind. Welcome to the Sales Podcast again. How the heck are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Georgia is on my mind too. I like it down here in Augusta. The azaleas are blooming, and sadly, we have no Masters this year.
Man, why you gotta, okay, cut. All right, take two, everybody. Look, listen, talk to Jeb, please. Don't make me sad. It's the only golf tournament I watch. Okay, we got to do this all over again, man. I know. That is terrible. But, man, we're going to get through this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I got your book. Thank you, sir. Inked. All right, we got to start right off, man. So here we are. We're in our bunkers, right? We're not traveling. We're sheltering in place, but this is the ultimate guide to powerful closing in sales. Inked. Negotiation tactics that unlock yes and seal the deal. Do I have to throw this book away, or is there like secrets even amidst the shutdown that I can use in this?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this book is it's not a book full of cheesy closing tactics, and I'm not gonna, I'm not giving you things that are gonna, like, you're gonna go out there and negotiate for something. I'm not teaching you how to go like negotiate with your neighbor for their toilet paper that they're hiding in their garage.
That's in the upsell version, huh? If they join the membership, right. They'll get those tips.
Coronavirus negotiating tips, right? So this book is really focused on what it's like to be a sales professional negotiating with a buyer, and recognizing that, and especially true in this particular environment, buyers have more power than salespeople almost always. Not always, but almost always. And they have more power than you do because they have more alternatives, and power in negotiation is derived from alternatives. So the buyer can do nothing, which is something that a lot of buyers are doing right now in this particular economy. The buyer can say, well, I'll try to do it on my own. The buyer has the ability to choose your competitors. And if there are a lot of hungry competitors out there and they're all chirping in your buyer, can pick that alternative. So you walk in as a sales professional, you're in a situation where buyers almost always have more power, and you have to figure out how to level the playing field. So we teach a thing called MLP strategy, but it's motivation, leverage, and power. So motivation and power are inverse in relationship to each other. So in other words, the more motivated the buyer is because they like you, they think you're somebody they can trust, they want to work with, then the fewer alternatives that they perceive that they have. And so your whole goal as a salesperson is to build a relationship, whether you're doing it by phone or you're in person, which we're not in right now, but or you're doing it through a video call, to increase the motivation of the stakeholder group that want to do business with you, the human being, while at the same time using your discovery skills, using the sales process to build a business case that decreases the viability of perceived alternatives. You're doing those two things at the same time. That allows you to level the playing field and put yourself in a position to win. The way you do that, though, is through leverage. And when you're the weaker party, leverage is important. So leverage is something that you have that can make another person change their behavior. So, for example, if, and I'm sure, Wes, you've never heard this before, but a buyer comes to you and says, listen, Wes, we're going to be looking at a bunch of proposals for this particular, but we need to get yours now. And if you want to have a shot at this. So the buyer's saying, listen, I got a lot of alternatives. I have the power to tell you to bend to my will. And if you, the seller, say, that's not going to work for me because we don't treat everybody like they're the same. And the only way I can give you a proposal, my pricing, my information, is that I need to meet with you. And the buyer says, well, I don't want to meet with you. I just want your pricing. You say, well, there's no way I can give you pricing unless we meet. And the buyer says, all right, well, I guess if if that's the only way we can do it, we'll get together. Immediately what you did is you use leverage to get the buyer to change their process so you can meet. And if I can meet with you, I got an opportunity to make you want to do business with, learn through discovery, to find ways to build a business case so that you'd want to do business with me. So the book, basically, we take that structure, MLP, motivation, leverage, and power, and then we build out frameworks around that work both when you're negotiating, but you're doing regular selling, and I imagine some of it would work in your normal life.
Yeah. I love that. And especially now in tougher times, would you say, are buyers going to have more power as we rebuild this economy, or will salespeople have more power?
In the buyer more power. So the reason I say buyers have more power is that the sellers want to sell stuff really badly because we need to feed our families. And the buyer is going to be able to push down pricing. And they're already doing that. I just did this recently with someone who was selling me something. I said, look, I'm in the middle of a big storm, and my number one priority is making payroll for my people. And I've got a big payroll nut that I've got to hit every single month. So that's my priority. So if you want to do business with me, you're going to find another way. And the smart salesperson said, okay, I'll find another way. Now, the difference between like that salesperson and someone else is that salesperson knew I wanted to do business with them. And I was motivated. I gave them an explicit, I want to do business with you, Wes, but I can't do it under these circumstances. So the salesperson knew that they had that I selected them as the vendor of choice. So instead of like fighting with me, they found a way, and we were able to collaborate on a package that worked for me in this situation. So in that situation, the seller made the sell, but I had a lot more power. And the truth is, I probably would have in different times spent more money, but I just don't have the money to spend. So in the short term, yes, the buyers are going to have a lot more power. So are your existing customers. In the long term, let's just say that we come out of this and the economy just goes right back on fire again, and buyers have discontinued services. They have like let their supplies dwindle. They've maybe let their building go, things like that. All of a sudden, there's going to be a lot of demand. In that case, the seller's going to have more power because alternatives. Run a restaurant, and during the breakdown or during the shutdown, your refrigerator broke because of something that happened, and you and 50 other restaurants are calling in for a refrigerator. Well, the people that sell refrigeration have the upper hand in that situation. That's supply and demand. But in a normal, regular space, there's always a balance between who has power. And by the way, let's talk about motivation on the salesperson's side. If you really, really, really need the deal, if you're desperate, then you'll give away a whole lot of stuff to get the deal. So you'll give away your commission check to get the deal if you really want the deal. So motivation goes both ways. And for salespeople, the best way to check your motivation is to sell like you don't have to sell. And the way that you do that is that you're prospecting all the time and you have a full pipeline, so that if any given deal doesn't work out, then you have other deals to fall back on. That becomes a problem in an environment like we're in right now, because opportunities to sell are scarce. To have money are going to be scarce, which means that on the prospecting side, you're probably going to have to do 5, maybe 10 times as much prospecting as you were doing before the crisis struck in order to have the same number of opportunities in your pipeline.
Yeah. I hate selling on price, but I'm telling my clients right now, it's like, now's the time to go get market share. Mm-hmm. Your competition's worried. You have an excuse. You can knock 10% off. You can knock 50% off. And then if they come out, I want that same price. It's like, dude, we were in a national emergency. Hell no. Yep. Would you recommend that?
I do. I think one of the things I recommend is play offense. So, and I love what you said. You just said take market share. So it's not like, I heard some people say, go out, blah, blah, blah. Don't go out and be a jerk. I mean, we're not doing that. Go take market share. Your customers are worried. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. They're confused. And businesses are looking to save money. And if you come along and they like you. Now, you can't just like throw price at the marketplace. You have to go build a relationship. You still have to sell the right way. But if you do that and you pull market share, the thing about market share is that when this comes out, you're going to have customers. You can raise prices. You can sell some more stuff to them. You can sell new stuff to them. You can expand the relationship. And so I would give people 2 pieces of, one, go out and take market share and find a way, like do it any way you can, but take market share and hold on to it, as long as you're not losing money at it. But if you can get the customers. 2, don't lose your own customers to other people who are trying to take market share from you. So don't get your ego in the way and your customers calling you up and saying, hey, Bob's in here and he's doing this half price. Save your customer, because you cannot sell things to customers you don't have. You cannot raise prices on customers that you don't have. You can't cross-sell, upsell, do any of that stuff You can't expand customers you don't have. So you have to play defense, protect your turf, protect your customers. Don't be stupid. Don't lose your customers. At the same time, right, you go out and you bang doors and you open doors and you find out what's wrong. And all of those companies that you compete against who are taking those customers for granted right now, are hiding from them because they don't want to have hard conversations. Just pick their pockets, put them in your portfolio. And then when you come out of this, you've got a larger customer base and it will grow. And you're exactly right. Just don't let your ego get in the way. And people, they'll always be expecting this. No, they won't. I mean, I've got vendors who are bending over backwards for me right now. I know when we come out of this, I feel like I kind of owe them. I mean, they're helping me out right now in the short term. And when they come back later on, I'm not going to have a place to go. I'm not going to do that.
Right. Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking with customers now and it's like, I guess that's why I have customers, right? Because they don't know to do this. I'm like, trust me. First of all, like, we want to go get new business. Like, amen. Please hold on to what you have. Like, when's the last time your customers have heard from you? You need to be checking in on them because they're not well. Like, oh, that's a good point. What about like using the phone right now? Are you seeing people more receptive to actually picking up the phone and having a conversation?
I'm hearing different things from different people. So I'll give you my experience with my team. So I've got a pretty large team. I run a large training company, and we're on the phone prospecting every single day. And I'm on the phone prospecting. And I had a prospecting block last week that I made 5 outbound phone calls. I talked to 5 people on the telephone. I converted 2 of those things into meetings. One of them, we just closed a deal that is going to get us through this downtime. And I just made 5 phone calls. And my salespeople are picking up the phone. They're calling. They're talking to more people than they have in a long time because people don't have anything to do. They're at home. And the conversations are longer. They're more robust. They're more open. There's a lot less pushback and resistance. People just, okay, we're on the phone talking. I made a call yesterday and talked to a senior vice president. And I said, I know you've got to be really, really, really busy. I don't want to take much of your time. He goes, no, I really don't have anything to do. What you got? So we had a 15-minute conversation just out of nowhere. So my folks are experiencing much better phone calls, more robust, and they're getting people on telephone. I'm hearing from other people that are saying nobody's answering the phone. But whenever I hear someone say that, I just always think to myself, nobody answers the phone that doesn't ring. So maybe the problem is you, not them. And which can be the case. So I think that for me, if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to make phone calls. I'm probably going to send emails. People are carrying their devices with them. They've got their laptops with them. There are some people who aren't in the office. It could be things you're calling particular roles. Those folks don't have a rollover to their cell phone, but most people who are in essential jobs, they didn't just go work from home unanswered. Their phone or somehow or another they're picking it up. And oh, by the way, let's say that that's the case. You can still leave a voicemail because I know they're checking their voicemail because people are calling their phones and they'll call. So there's no reason in the world that you wouldn't double down on the telephone. And certainly you want to use email, and certainly you want to use LinkedIn and other social tools to get in touch with people. For my overseas clients, WeChat, not WeChat, but WhatsApp works great, and I can make video calls over WhatsApp. So Messenger works if you know people on Facebook. And of course, text messaging is beautiful with your customer base, people you have relationships with, to reach out and have conversations with them. And I think what's unique right now, Wes, for us is we're a training company. So 2 weeks ago, our entire world evaporated. When I say evaporated, all of the events, all the training programs we had, gone. Now, most of them got rescheduled. So it wasn't a situation where people just said, we're canceling, we don't want you to come in. They just said, we just don't want you to come in right now. But I got a bunch of trainers that, they don't get paid if they're not standing in training. So we started reaching out, talking to our customers, and they're buying other stuff. They're buying e-learning programs. They're buying virtual training right on the studio, right on the other side of the studio, which is our big production studio. It's like a TV set. Now, I've got a trainer over there that's been training for 6 hours, a group of people. She flew down to our studios to deliver this training. So we're calling our customers and having conversations with them too. They answer the phone. By the way, we know their cell phone numbers, and they're saying, as we talk to them, what can you do for my team? Well, how can you help me out? The SVP I talked to yesterday said, hey, can you get back with me some ideas? Salespeople sitting around doing nothing, and I need to keep them busy. Can you help me out? Simple stuff like that. So I'm rambling because I'm from Georgia, but I think the point is that, you know, if someone says, well, you know, what about the phone? What about this? What about this? I go, look, you have two choices, right? You can sit at home and put your finger up your rear end and say, sky's falling, nothing I can do. Or you can get moving and take action and do something. And maybe you have to make 100 calls to get two people to talk to you, but that one person or two people that talk to you might be, I had the one person I talked to that is literally going to save my company through this process. They're going to make payroll. My people are going to keep their jobs. Everything's going to be okay. But it was just because I picked up the phone and read the conversation, and I got lucky. It was just a lucky call.
Yeah. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, isn't it?
That's true.
So I want to go back to something you said during that rant on the, you know, when you're talking to somebody and you use the, you know, hey, I know you're busy, just want to take a minute. Do you like that line? Because I typically teach my folks not to say that, but is it just like a personal preference or a style?
I never say normal circumstance. So in normal circumstance, I would say, I totally agree with you. I say, this is how I would start a call. I say, hey, Wes, this is Jeb from Sales Gravy. The reason I'm calling is to get on your calendar because tell them why, ask for the time. And I do that in normal places. I've changed my approach just a little bit period of time for a couple of reasons. One, for the example, the SVP I called, they're in an essential industry. So my assumption was that these folks are working around the clock. And the reason that something that I use a lot is, look, I'm an extra set of hands. Tell me how I can help you. Just really simple stuff. And I mean that sincerely. Like I'm here. I can help you. Tell me what I can do. Started off, I can't even imagine what it's like in your shoes right now with everything going on. And I know you're probably busy, so I'll keep this short. So in this case, all I'm trying to do is just be nuanced, be a little empathetic and think about it. But when this is done, I'm back to like, boom, 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 boom. How about the time? Because I'm dealing with people who are super busy and I want their time. Right now, I don't really know what people's circumstance is. So I'm just using that approach. But
Sure.
but like you, I'd tell people 99.9999% of the time, don't ask people if they're busy and don't say, are you too busy or is this a good time? Total waste.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to talk on that because, you know, I always tell people small hinges swing big doors, right? And somebody's going to listen to this a year from now and think, well, Jeb says that, so I can use that. Like, no, A, you're not Jeb. B, we're not in the middle of another crisis, hopefully, when you're listening to this. So, you know, but yeah, I love what you're saying. And I tell people all the time, it's like, based on how someone answers the phone, I'll adjust a little bit my own tonality, pace, volume, some of the words I'll use. You know, I've got a couple of different scripts and opening lines that I'll use just based on just how they answer the phone. Like, we've got to be tuned into that, not just so robotic, right? And just plowing through. So, because that's what you see most teaching, right? They want to make a bunch of little robots of themselves, and it's like, no.
I think you're right. I think that's and that's a hard thing to teach to people and I think you're really good at it because it doesn't take you long. Like in a split second, your subconscious says, this is this person's mood. This is who they are. You can just hear one small thing that says, wow, they're really, really open. I don't need to go through this process. I'm just going to go right over. And I think that's why I'm making some adjustments right now in the way that I'm approaching people is, because I don't know their situation. So I'm changing up to listen, to hear, and it works. And by the way, look, the reason it's working is I could call up and say, hello, cow. And most of the people that are answering the phone go, cool, tell me what you got going on. Cause they're sitting at home and they're bored. So they're willing to talk to you. And as long as you're not just a complete schmuck, you know, you'll have a conversation. 2 weeks ago, that was not the case. 2 weeks ago, the economy's on fire and everybody's going. And I guess my question to you, like, I mean, are you like shocked at how quickly like the wheels fell off the greatest economy in the history of our country. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah, well, I could get into a very depressing diatribe, but I I think the emperor has no clothes, and we're starting to see it. But the problem is, no emperor has any clothes in the whole world. So everybody's just literally, pumping on the dollar and the whole debt. So don't even get me started, man. So
Well, I read your Facebook post, so I can post a little bit.
Oh yeah, but I mean, dude, it's hard when you just totally. I mean, dude, I had a text conversation with a client this morning, and they were a longtime client, and so this past, I don't know, 8 months or so, they didn't renew, but they were a client for over a year, but we've always stayed in touch. We're friends, and they're back on the East Coast. I'm like, how are you doing? And she said they're an import export in the food industry, and she said when that national emergency was declared, their business shut. 98% of their business went away. So, I mean, when you have that complete of a shutdown, yeah, the wheels are going to fall off fast. I'm just hoping this bounces back quickly, but I think it's going to be hard, man. We're entering a new paradigm. Time to pivot. That's the word, right? Pivot. But I think it'll be good in some ways, man. I think manufacturing's going to come back to the U.S. 3D printing, artificial intelligence, robotics. There's going to be a lot of new opportunities. So keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, I think, the thing that for us that was the blessing that we had this year was about 18 months ago, a year ago, my spidey sense went off and all I was going to be a recession. Now, I happen to be in a business segment that is really sensitive to recessions. So the training space, business space is sensitive because the stuff that we do, most of the training that we do, I've got a trainer at someone's business or we're at some event and we're training people. And in a recession, people don't quit training so much, but they quit traveling people. So when T&E gets turned off, you're done. And I'm like, man, I got a big trainer group. I got this company that's screaming, the economy's good, but I'm worried, winter's coming and this is going to be a problem. So we started prepping 12 months ago for a recession that we didn't know when was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know. So when this thing hit, when you talk about pivot, it was really, really easy for us to flip the switch because we already had the contingency plan in place. Now, this is, way more severe than we expected, but we made the infrastructure investment. And I think the biggest learning for me, my son said this last night to me, he goes, Daddy, if you had not built that studio, where would you be? He's like, that is the smartest business decision you've ever made. I'm like, it's dumb luck. But, it was like, where would we be? We would be so screwed right now. But we've just been able to, we're not, we've got problems and I'm worried about stuff, but I got revenue coming in, unlike someone who like immediately 98% of their business is gone and there's no other way to replace it. That's just heart-wrenching to think about that because you start thinking about what are you going to do? We've been able to keep our operations moving, keep going, keep training, keep revenue coming in. The biggest concern that I've had is on like if this malaise goes into April and it gets deep and people are worried about their paychecks, that's when it can get really hard because then everybody starts cutting. Like in the short term, people are still waiting. So my only hope is that people get smart. Businesses around me are open and working and going. Georgia's a little bit, lighter on the touch than a lot of other places.
Right.
Is that we just avoid that. If we hit that wall, then I think it's a lot harder problem to have. But at the same time, what I can't accept is accepting it. I just can't. So I don't have anything in me. I haven't slept in 2 weeks. I've been going 24 a day, finding a way, looking for an opportunity. We're overcoming some obstacles. We're adapting to the new environment. We're looking for any way possible that we can survive. We're counting our money. We're making sure that we have all our ducks in a row so that we can make some investments. I'm spending money. And I told my CFO this morning, I'm going to spend some more money to do this and this and this. It's going to get this return. So I think you cannot have that mentality. I know you don't, because I read what you write and I follow you very closely. You can't have the mentality that this happened to me and there's nothing I can do about it. I just cannot live that way. I can't. Yep. I think that if you're an entrepreneur at heart in spirit, or you're a salesperson, which is an entrepreneur that has all the risk taken away by someone else, then you just got to get your butt up and you got to figure it out. And you can whine and whine and whine about all the stuff that's going on, and you can just do something. And that's what I think you have to do.
Yeah, I was talking about that last night. It's like actions create feelings. Mm-hmm. People, and I feel better when I feel good. Then I'll do that. No, go do the thing you need to do. Then you'll feel better.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you'll feel like doing more of it.
That's right.
It's like I just before this, I got a tight. I've been busier than ever these last 2 weeks as well, and squeezing in workouts. I can't go train jujitsu. In the last 2 days, I've run 3 miles. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but in the last 3 years, I haven't run 3 miles. I hate running, but it's like, all right, I felt today I ran a little longer than yesterday, and I ran it faster. I'm like, all right, 2 days. One sparrow may not make a spring, but 2 runs makes Wes a jogger. All right. So, I mean,
that's right. You don't need to plug that in.
Get after it. Right. And but I know it's hard. If people haven't prepared, it's hard. If they've never done anything hard before, it's really hard, but at least they got.
But don't you think the lack of preparation though is that most people, this is the human brain, think that when the good times are rolling, they're always going to roll. And just like now, most people think when the bottom falls out of things, it's always going to be this way.
Yeah.
So they don't prepare for the other side, what you and I were talking about, market share, and they don't prepare for the dip.
Yeah. And I'm hoping this makes people wiser, right? More cautious in a good way. And as they build their savings, right, then they can move forward more confidently. And I hope they're more receptive to good ideas and, folks that have weathered the storm. I weathered 2008 just fine. I was buying when people were selling. I bought this house at 50% off, and, I was talking about it, I'm riding this one out. So, I just hope they listen. And you see it all the time. Salespeople, they, like you just said, they think it's going to last forever. And it's like, be smart and work harder, right? Make hay while the sun shines. Like, brother, if times are good, you better be selling and selling and selling, because it may not last. Oh,
well, that's,
man.
we were talking earlier before you turned the recording on about, traveling. I spent 311 nights last year on the road. For you, like that would be, I know it's hard, right? And people say, well, how do you do it? And I go, well, how can I not do it? The phone is ringing. The economy is great. People are, demanding that for our services. They're calling me up. Like my brain thinks the moment that I start saying no, I'm jinxing myself. So I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can. I was working up to the very moment that this thing fell apart, because the sun was shining and I was making hay. And because of that, though, and I know that everybody doesn't have this luxury, but we've been really, really smart that for me personally as a human being, I mean, for my business, I worry, but for me as a human being, I have no worry at all. I mean, I literally could just turn the lights off in the office, go home, and I can go 5 years and not have to work. And I know that a lot of people don't have that luxury. A lot of people are living, hand to mouth, but most professionals who have college degrees who do what we do in sales don't. So, I think you're right. I think if, and I don't give a lot of financial advice to salespeople other than spend your salary and save your commission check. But, you got to start thinking you need to have that padding so that you got that space. So if something like this happens, it's not like the end of the world didn't happen. Like we didn't have to all of a sudden change our lifestyle just because this happened. We built up enough of a nest egg and just cash savings that we're good. Yeah. And we have an austere lifestyle. If you say, I don't know how you say the word, but it's very lean. a lot of that's coming out of 2008 because I learned that lesson in 2008. But we're lean, so
Yep.
it makes it easy.
Stay lean and mean. So your book is out. You got the audio book coming out. Where should we send people? Do you have a special website or just your main site?
Yeah, a couple of things. If you go buy Inked, what I would do is go buy it wherever you want to. Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can buy it on iBooks or Google Play or any of those places. But go to salesgravy.com/inked. That's salesgravy.com/inked. If you go there, there's a special offer, so you can get about $3,000 of really nice content, different downloads, things from all kinds of different experts who kind of gave to the cause. You just go there, put your receipt in, and as soon as you put your receipt in and put your information in and press the button, then you get access to it instantly. So go to salesgravy.com/inked. Just go buy the book and go there. If you want a signed copy of Inked, if you want me to autograph it for you, go to salesgravy.com and just click on the store icon or the shop icon in the upper right-hand corner, and you can find the book there. And if you order it, I will sign the book for you and send it to your house. Shipping is free.
Nice. And if you're a new speaker and you don't have a book, buy a bunch of his books and then you sign them.
That's right.
Dude, I did that. I was paid to speak in Vegas. I didn't have a book, and I had access though to a very hard to get book. And I bought a case of them. I sold $1,200 of someone else's book and signed them.
Awesome. I'm sending you a case tonight. That is so good. Hey, Mike, you know Mike Weinberg, right?
Yeah.
So he was given a keynote speech, and afterwards he has shot me a picture of it. He got down off the stage and people were bringing books to him, and some dude brought him my book and said, "Will you?" He signed it.
Awesome. Very nice, man. Well, thanks for taking time. I know you're very busy.
I got time, man. I got time. I got coronavirus time.
I know, man. Well, good to catch up. And if you get back to traveling soon, if you come to SoCal, hit me up.
I will do that. I will do that, sir.
All right, man. Good to see you.
Enjoy your quarantine.
Shrink your ego to grow your market share. Amen. And on the show notes, I link to a blog post I wrote a while back, and I keep updating. But said your proposals are just blind fishing expeditions that are going to get you killed. So go check that out. And how you negotiate matters, but how you set things up lead to how you negotiate. Okay, you literally do begin with the end in mind. You gotta know what's coming and set yourself up for success. Okay, so when you look at this complex sale, you need to understand everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of negotiation. So you got to plan for the objections you're going to get, and there's only a few you can get. So do the work ahead of time. Take away the objections. I don't like overcoming objections. I like anticipating them and addressing them and neutralizing them before they ever pop up. That's the difference between rookies and professionals. Okay? You should be closing the majority, 90% of your proposals. You should be winning. But you should probably be sending out a lot fewer proposals. Okay? And now in these times, I've always said cold calling has never died. It's never died. It's actually gotten a little bit better, I think, over the years. But right now, it's a lot better. But, I've had Jeffrey Gitomer on. We talk about gold calling. If you know what the heck you're doing, if you have a series of messages, multimedia, multi-step, I'm doing this right now for a client. I landed a nice client at a good time with this virus and quarantine going on, and just helping them with fundamental outreach, tightening that up and being super efficient in their processes. And in the beginning, got a little pushback, but, we identified, they had one of their inside salespeople they asked for advice on how to do a certain thing inside. They use Infusionsoft inside of their CRM. And I said, walk me through that scenario. Why do you do it that way? Who needs to be notified? Why do they need to be notified? And, we come to find out that process did not need to be streamlined within Infusionsoft. It needed to just end. It was an incorrect process. And people always, I don't have time for this, that, and the other. It's like the accountant who is sitting there just adding numbers by hand, on a piece of paper and a pencil, and they're swamped. And it's like, dude, you need to go buy a calculator. And they're like, can't you see I'm too busy adding numbers to go buy a calculator? So it's this vicious loop that you never get out of. So, if this inside sales rep reaches out to 20 people in a day and they waste 5 minutes on a task, well, that's 100 minutes, right? It's an hour and a half plus a day. So, at a minimum, I help them free up an hour a day for this person forever, right? These are things they've done literally for years. So 1 hour a day, if she could make, I don't know, let's go in the extremely low end of 5 extra calls in an hour. So that's 25 calls a week. It's 100 calls a month from that one thing. And I guarantee if you're any good, you're making more than 5 calls in an hour. Okay, let's say, and again, in the low end, 10 calls. Now, I'm not saying conversations, but 10 outbound calls, reaching out to maybe old customers, see how they're doing. Maybe it's cold calls. You're going to leave a lot of messages, but 10 calls in an hour, not hard to do. All right, so that's 50 calls in a week. That's 2,500 calls in a year from one thing that I found them doing inefficiently. So that's the beauty of bringing somebody in from the outside, somebody with experience. Okay, those are the kind of things that I help you figure out from a company standpoint. So if you've got a sales team and you're not hitting your numbers, let's talk. I will help you make more money, okay, by eliminating things you shouldn't be doing, doing things better that you should be doing, and sending out less proposals, but closing more of them at higher dollar. That's what I do as a sales whisperer. All right. So hit me up. Be happy to help. Hope you got a lot out of this. Sounds like they're vacuuming downstairs. This microphone picks up everything. So I will wrap this up. Go back to my Woodford Reserve, working on my book that I'm going to be covering in a couple of podcasts. Not too long from now. I don't know, 4 or 5 from now, 6 from now. Getting these knocked out for you. All right. To help you sell more, faster, at higher margin, with less stress, and more fun. That's the plan. Thanks for listening. Go sell something.